Dear students, welcome back to Odelia Vlogs. Today I am focusing on your S6 semester subject Communication Skills and Personality Development. You have studied earlier in semester 2 Business Communication, and it's an extension of that subject. This subject was introduced in 2017 only. Till 2016 this subject was not there, so it's a new subject and it is very important because once you pass BBA, if you have to go for post graduation, you have to attend an interview and GD. And similarly, if you are going for a job, if you are seeking a job, again you will have to go under 2 sessions, interview and group discussion. So this is a very essential subject and it is very useful for you, and we will go to the first module today. I will teach you about a speech, about presentation, what are the etiquettes we have to obey during preparing a speech and a presentation. Okay students, so study very well. Your exams will be most probably in April first week. Okay. Dear students, in the first module of Communication Skills and Personality Development, we can study the following contents: speeches, presentation, and different factors of speeches and presentation. And there are different types of presentation: interactive presentation, interview presentation, and difference between speech and presentation. First, we can go to what is a speech. Communication of information through spoken words with or without the aid of equipments by a person to another person or to a group of persons on a particular subject is called a speech. The different characteristics or qualities of a good speech are: first one, clarity. The speaker should be clear in his mind and he should have a good command over language in which he is speaking to express his ideas clearly so that they are instantly understood by the listeners. Second one, informal, personal and conversational. A good speech should be like a conversation between two good friends: personal, informal and sincere. There should be a rapport between the speaker and the audience. Third is concrete, vivid and imagery. A speech should help build a picture that is easy to visualize and easier to comprehend. It should be furnished by concrete examples that grasp the imagination of the listeners. Next is brevity. It is very difficult to hold the attention of the listeners for more than 15 to 20 minutes. A good speaker should be able to convey his complete message in that period. He should come straight to the point and say what he wants by bringing 3 or 4 points to their attention. So the speech should be brief and it should give a good interest to the public. Our next point is interesting, jovial and humorous. A speaker wins or loses the battle in the first 2 or 3 minutes. If the speaker has impressed the audience with his opening remarks, he is well on your way to winning a space in their heart. And that is the target: heart-to-heart dialogue. Lace it with short, humorous anecdotes. Anecdotes means short stories. Next, quotations, proverbs and idioms should be piercing directly into the heart of the audience. Sixth point is listener oriented. Audience is your target, so know their needs and wants, their desires and expectations. Speak according to the wavelength of the audience. For example, if the speaker is delivering the speech to management trainees or managers, management jargons can be used, but if addressing to the common people, use of technical terms should be avoided. Now we can move over to the strategies to make an effective speech. First one is planning and preparation of the speech. Second one is delivering the speech. You will sometimes get a question, what are the strategies of planning and preparing a speech? So just write the first section only, and that will be for 5 marks. There are different steps in that. First one is decide the purpose of speech. Once a speech is to be done, the speaker should decide in his mind what he is going to do, what is the purpose of his speech, what is the audience, why they are coming to listen, what benefit they get from it, etc. So anyone who is going to speak to large number of audience should have a specific goal in mind. These audience have gathered to hear the speech on a specific issue by sacrificing their time and expect to get something out of it immediately. And the speaker should not make them disappointed. So he should understand what they need and he should prepare for that very well. Next is making the audience analysis. He should know about the audience, what is the age, ethnicity, language, interest, gender, level of education, whether the audience is women only or whether it is youth, whether it is old people, etc. And according to that, he has to prepare the topic. Also, he should know what are the things which offend the people. That also he should not speak, because women may be offended in different matters. So, men might be offended in different matters. So, he should be very cautious in preparing the speech, and so that he should take a good audience analysis. Next is searching relevant material. To make the speech effective, the speaker should search the relevant material from library, internet and other magazines. Audience are coming to listen so that they get something interesting, something informative and illuminating. So, the speaker should prepare very well by reading a lot so that he gets the depth of that topic, what he is going to speak. Next is organizing the speech. The speaker should make the speech much organized and easily understood. A speech cannot be cooked like a meat just a few minutes before its delivery. It should stem and grow out of the head and heart of the speaker. The speaker should collect the relevant facts, organize and analyze them before presenting them to the audience. There are many kinds of supporting materials, just like he can use real life examples, he can use stories, statistics, comparisons and situations also. Next, he can also use certain visuals just like pie charts, bar charts, pictograms, slides, handouts, photographs, diagrams, etc. Next step is reviewing the speech. After organizing and writing the speech, the speaker should review the speech to ensure that it should appeal to the audience. At this stage, irrelevant thoughts should be excluded from the speech and relevant thoughts are presented in a logical way. The speaker should also review whether the speech contains appealing and appropriate words and sentences that arouse the interest in the audience. Now we can go to the second strategy, that is delivering the speech. First one, creating an effective introduction. The best way to make rapport with the audience is to get them to relate to the topic by appealing to them on personal level. For capturing immediate attention, speaker can raise a question or else he can narrate a related interesting story. He can open the speech with a striking quotation. He can highlight shocking facts. Also, he can tell how the topic affects the vital interest of the audience. Next step, making the speech easy to understand. In longer speeches, it is essential to keep reminding the audience of the main points. Buzzwords can also be emphasized to make the speech easy to understand. To make the speech easier for the audience to understand, the speaker should incorporate previews and summaries at the beginning or end of the speech. Next step is helping audience to listen. He should always use shorter, simpler sentence structures. Speaker should avoid complicated sentences because audience will forget the message. Next, taking care of visual elements. The speaker should take care of the visual elements. He should dress up very effectively to appeal attractive and charming. He should speak with confidence and authority. He should ensure proper settings of LCD and laptops. He should maintain eye contact with the audience. He should stand and move effectively while speaking. And he should move out confidently when the speech is finished. Next is taking care of verbal elements. Keep most sentences short. Use active voice, use proper vocabulary and pronunciation. Avoid emphasizing mistakes. Mix poetry and prose to appeal the minds of the listener. Next is taking care of vocal elements of speech. The speaker should speak with enthusiasm and sincerity. Ensure that his or her voice seems natural, soft and sweet. The speaker should speak loudly enough to be heard. Vary the pitch of the voice flowing up and down the scale from high to low and back again. Seventh step is keeping the interest of the audience alive. When arguing or explaining a point, use of ethos, pathos and logos can help the speaker to convince the audience. Believe in the message of the speaker. Ethos refers to an appeal to the audience by establishing authenticity and trustworthiness as speaker. By employing pathos, the speaker can appeal to the emotions of the audience. Use of logos include the support of hard facts, precise statistical figures, and logical arguments. Use statistics and quotations sparingly, otherwise the listeners will get bored. Next, creating an effective conclusion. The end of the speech is also an important part and should be handled carefully. There are some ways of closing speech, just like appealing for action, raising a laugh, paying the audience sincere compliment, quoting a fitting verse of poetry, using a biblical quotation, building up a climax. Using a biblical quotation means using any religious quotation, whether it be Bhagavad Gita, Bible or Quran. So these are the important points, the strategies to make an effective speech. Now we can study how to become an authentic speaker. First one is to be open up with the listeners. The speaker should try to be open with the audience. In order to be open with audience, the speaker should build rapport and feel comfortable with them. That will lead to a more candid expression of his or her thoughts. For becoming more open, he or she should not over-intellectualize the speech. Second one, to connect with them. Once the speaker begins to feel open with audience, he or she should connect with the audience. Once connection is established, it will continue through the speech. Next, to be passionate about the topic. The speaker should try to be passionate about the topic and let the underlying emotion come out in every word and sentence. Being passionate with the subject fuels the energy, excite the speaker and audience, and engage them synergistically. Next point is to listen to messages from audience, whether spoken or unspoken. During the speech, the speaker should be very careful to listen to the body language of the audience. If the audience are feeling tired or bored, some joke can be cut to overcome their boredom and to put fresh interest in the topic. If the time has been set aside for questions at the end of the speech, the speaker should listen their questions patiently and reply them briefly and meaningfully. Next, we can study that is how to overcome nervousness in public speaking. First one, be prepared. Effective speech involves meticulous planning and preparation before its delivery. One should write the speech, rehearse a lot of time, and while rehearsal, give proper attention to the body language and tone of the voice. Second one, put yourself in a positive frame of mind before you start. Visualize the things in a positive way. It is more useful and pleasant way to spend time with your imagination. Next is stop worrying about being perfect. Try to put the things in healthier perspective and avoid worrying. Next, we can study the fourth point, that is breathe slowly and deeply to maintain a sense of calm and confidence. It will help you regain your mental and moral health and feel relaxed and fresh. Next, realize that people do not care that much about what you do. One big source of nervousness is thinking what others will say and will criticize you. But people have no time for criticizing us because they have their own problems and they are much involved in their own personal matters. So people do not think that much about what you do. So remember that. Next is taking care of the body language. The speaker should dress up effectively to appeal attractive and charming. Step up to speak with confidence and authority. Maintain eye contact. Move out confidently when the speech is over. Next is practice. Practice can be made in front of a mirror, friends or colleagues. The more you rehearse, the more confident you will be. Now we can move over to presentation. A presentation conveys information from a speaker to an audience. Presentations are typically demonstrations, introduction, lecture or speech meant to inspire, inform, persuade, motivate, build goodwill or present a new idea or a product. Usually in sales presentation, it's presenting a new product or a service. So we can study about what is a sales presentation. It is made to convince the audience for buying the products or services or accepting a new idea. In sales presentation, the speaker speaks to the audience, asks questions that raise their curiosity for the product, overcomes the negative assumptions regarding the product, and finally gains their commitment to buy the product or service. What is sales presentation is usually asked as a 2-mark question. That's why I gave now. Now we can study the stages of making presentation. First one is planning. Second one or preparation. Third is organizing. Next comes rehearing, delivery. First is planning. We can study that very well. Presentations are made for several purposes. Before planning presentation, the objective of presentation shall be identified. The objectives include to demonstrate a service, product or a system, or to create an image or strategy. Sometimes it will be to entertain colleagues or outside people, or to sell a concept or product, or to represent a group, department, a company, or to promote an attitude or a method of working, to suggest a solution. So planning involves some steps. We can study that in detail because that is most important part. Planning includes first one, knowledge about the audience. For planning of presentation, a sound knowledge of audience shall be required. The depth of the content and format of presentation will be governed by the composition of the audience. First of all, we have to consider the background and intellectual level of audience, the size of the audience, whether it is large or whether it is small or whether it is medium, age group of the audience, gender of the audience, whether it is male, female or mixed. Interest of audience will vary with age, gender, background, whether it is urban or from rural area, and economic status, rich, middle class or poor. Presentations have to be adapted to the interests and needs of the audience. Second one is physical factors. The physical factors to be considered are first one, place and time of presentation, number of speakers on the subject, availability of audio visual aids and its operation, use of microphone, need for handouts, and the duration of presentation. Third one, structure of presentation, which includes some different stages. First one is introduction and statement of objectives. The speaker should himself introduce by stating his name, designation, and name of the organization he represents. Thereafter, make a statement of objectives of presentation. The speaker should create a rapport with the audience. Next, introduction of main themes. The main themes of presentation shall be briefly and clearly stated. It is a roadmap which will save the time and effort of the speaker by concentrating on the themes stated. Next is development of main themes. The themes introduced are developed with help of examples, anecdotes, arguments, tables, charts, and graphs. The themes have to be developed logically, stating the relationship between various themes and arguments. Next is integration of themes. All the themes developed shall be combined together to a composite whole. A clear picture of the presentation shall emerge in the minds of the audience. Next is summary. The main points are highlighted to create a lasting impression. The action, if any, desired from the audience, that is, buying the product or hire the service, should be conveyed. Summary of the presentation should be brief but forceful. If the speaker is motivating the audience to buy a product or acquire a service, the conclusion of the presentation shall force them to make their minds to buy the product or acquire the service. Next is question-answer session. Questions, doubts, and objections which may arise during presentation shall be anticipated and be ready to provide response. The question-answer sessions should be treated as an opportunity to leave a lasting impression on the audience. Never ridicule a questioner. Don't set aside the questions casually. Offer a precise and pointed answer to all the questions. Next, we can study preparation. That is the next step of making a presentation. Based on the objectives and the need of the audience, all relevant information required for the presentation shall be collected. Collect all the facts that are most crucial to the objectives of presentation, keeping in mind the availability of time. Arrange the collected information in a logical and sequential order to make the listeners much interesting. Next, utmost care shall be exercised while selecting key points. The opening section of the presentation must be striking. Also, the key points should be noted. Decisions shall be made as to the points to be presented verbally and points to be illustrated with the help of visuals. Visuals shall be carefully prepared. Prepare the presentation in such a way that it can complete within the allotted time. Usually, the time required for actual presentation will be more than the time allotted for it. So, keep the margin of time for actual presentation. Next is organizing. For presentation, both men and women shall be dressed formally. Men should wear suit or shirt and pant, depending on the occasion. Women should wear a sari or western business dress. Women should avoid heavy makeup and heavy jewelry. The dress should be comfortable and make the speaker look neat, tidy, and dignified. Fourth step is rehearing. Practice and rehearing are indispensable for a good presentation. Practice the presentation either in a solitary room or in front of a mirror or in front of a friend or colleague. In order to identify the shortcomings and to make any improvements, record the presentation and critically listen to it. The last step is delivery. It is the transfer of the message of presentation to the target audience. Greet the audience pleasantly and with confidence. Don't look at your papers sideways or at the ceiling while greeting the audience. If protocol demands, address the VIPs by name or designation. Introduce yourself briefly if someone else has not done so. Tell the audience your name, designation, and the organization you represent. Make a clear statement of the objectives of the presentation and its structure to the audience. Tell the audience the duration of presentation and the time of answering their questions. Your sound must be clear, cautious, and considerate. Move from one point to another in a logical manner. Facts or figures to support the arguments shall be presented with help of slides, charts, or tables. Usually, the essay question will be speech. Presentation has not been come as an essay question till now, so be prepared. Sometimes this time presentation will be the essay question. Okay, now we can study the paralinguistic elements in presentation. First one is voice, second one eye contact, third is gestures, and fourth one is posture. Voice of the speaker should be loud enough to be audible even to the people sitting in the last row. There should be enough variation of pace and pitch as you speak. Stress the keywords properly. Give a pause before and after important points. Eye contact. Second point, maintain eye contact with the audience throughout the presentation. It will help the speaker to create a rapport with the audience and keep them alert and attentive. It will also project you as a confident speaker. Don't stare at one section of the audience for too long. Spread your eye contact around the room, sweeping it from one side to another. Next is gestures. The gestures of the speaker should be natural. They should neither be exaggerated or stiff. Putting hands in your pocket or holding them behind your back show lack of confidence. Crossing the arms at the chest also is a sign of nervousness and anxiety. Let your hands be held gently by your sides and move them freely to lend proper emphasis to your message. The last point is posture. Leaning over the podium or against a table, rolling from side to side, or shifting your weight from leg to leg suggests that you are experiencing stage fright. Standing behind the podium while making the presentation will create a barrier between the speaker and audience. So use the podium only if you have a vast amount of reading material or want to use a microphone. Stand straight while speaking with your weight distributed evenly on your two legs. Occasionally, you should move around to break the monotony of maintaining a single pose throughout the presentation. So this is and now we can study the various presentation tools. That is also very important question, usually asked as a 5-mark question. First one is whiteboard. Whiteboards are easy and economic means of presentation, but they are not portable. Handouts. Handouts provide a permanent record of the ideas presented and avoids the listener's need to take notes. The handouts should be circulated at the end of the presentation only to avoid any distraction of the audience. Third one is flip chart. Flip chart consists of a large pad of papers revealing various visual presentations attached to an easel. These charts are easy to understand, economical to use, and are portable. But they are difficult to prepare and fragile as they become shabby after being handled in presentation. Next is overhead projector or OHP. It casts an image of the transparencies on a screen. With sketch pen or color pencil or computer, matter can be written of transparencies. Transparencies are effective means of projecting graph charts or data which are visible to a large audience. Presented matter can be erased and transparencies can be reused for new presentations or they can be stored for future use. Next is LCD projector. LCD projectors are compact, powerful, and can be linked to a computer or a video record player to produce high quality presentations. Colorful pictures, detailed graphs, and textual information can be made more attractive, but it is very costly. Next is videotapes. These are best for illustrating persons in action and presenting a living image of the situation. To make it effective, videos should be edited with proper narration and musical accompaniments. The main limitation of videotapes is it's very expensive. Now we can study the guidelines for effective speech and presentation. First one is visual elements. Visual elements we have taught you earlier, but once again I will say these are the guidelines for effective speech and presentation. So whenever it will be asked for a speech or presentation, you can write the same guidelines. First one is visual elements. Dress up effectively to look smart. Be confident and authoritative in look. Establish and maintain eye contact with the audience. Avoid looking at the notes. Stand upright. Do not try to close the presentation in a hurry. Move out confidently after the speech or presentation. Verbal elements, which include use right words and pronunciation, use active voice, keep most sentences short, address the audience directly, avoid emphasizing mistakes. Next is vocal elements. Speak in enthusiastic and vivid voice. Speak loudly to be heard, neither soft nor shouting. Be alert and aware of your voice. Next is use of audio visual aids. Don't begin a presentation with a visual aid. Use the visuals only after the speaker has established a friendly relationship with the audience. There should be a perfect correspondence between the spoken words and the contents of the visual being flashed on the screen. Sufficient time gap should be given between two visuals so that the audience is able to assimilate the contents of each visual. Next point, only a limited number of visuals should be used. Too many visuals will cause distraction. Next, the speaker must be proficient in using the controls of visual aids. Lack of proficiency in using controls of visual aids will adversely affect the fluency of the speaker. Next, the visuals should be very clear. Showing a badly prepared visual is an insult to the audience and a proof of inability of the speaker. Handouts shall be distributed either at the end of the presentation or at a point of time when they are required. If the handouts are with the audience while presentation is in progress, the audience might be busy in reading the handouts instead of listening to the presentation. So I will recommend that the handout should be given at the end of the session. The last point is handling of question answer session. Don't interrupt the questioner. Let the questioner complete the question. Many people ask questions not because they have a genuine doubt, but they want to be noticed. So let them be noticed and heard. Next, listen to the question carefully after a brief pause offer a precise and pointed answer. Make it sure that entire audience have understood the question. If there are several parts to a question, note down the points and deal with them one by one. You should never ridicule a questioner. No questions shall be taken casually. Never let the question answer session drag into an argument. If the answer is not known, admit it. It will provide the speaker the respect of the audience. Apologize for the mistake and express thanks if someone in the audience corrects the speaker with respect to a factual error. So these are the important guidelines for effective speech and presentation. Now we can study the boredom factors of speech and presentation. First one, flat voice. The voice of the speaker should be natural, soft and sweet. He should vary the pitch of his voice according to the point to be emphasized. Second point, lack of preparation. To make the speech and presentation interesting, the speaker should prepare the subject in advance, and we have studied that in detail. Presentation of facts without real-life example. The speech and presentation should be correlated with real life, only then it will be interesting and appealing. Next is lack of facial expression. The speaker should make appropriate facial expressions during speech, just like eye contact, that is very essential. Next is lack of interaction. To make the speech and presentation effective, the speaker should try to involve the audience by asking questions or raising their interest and curiosity. Overuse of words. The speaker should avoid the overuse of words such as okay, you know, or am I right? These are usually some boring words. Next, lack of handouts. The speaker should provide the audience with suitable handouts to make the speech and presentation informative. The last point, uncomfortable venue. The venue of the speech and presentation should be comfortable to the audience. It should be free from noise and heat. Now we can study how to overcome the barriers of boredom, how to overcome the boredom in speech and presentation. So first one is make proper preparation. Make proper preparation by collecting information and arranging it in a logical manner. Do practice. Second one, audience analysis. If the speaker has analyzed the audience in proper way before presentation, his presentation will be more effective. Next, keep the interest of the audience alive by asking questions. After a thorough audience analysis, plan the presentation based on audience interests and needs. Next is maintain eye contact. A speaker having eye contact with audience is likely to impress more than a speaker reading out the handouts. Next is personal appearance. Well dressed up person can deliver good presentation. So the speaker should wear neat and clean clothes and take time to check his appearance just before starting the presentation. Next, prepare handouts and other informational literature for distribution among the audience. Handouts should never be given at the starting session. Only at the end of the session you should give the handouts, otherwise it will cause disturbance. Next is communication environment. Communication environment affects the effectiveness of the presentations. Much of the audience notices the physical things surrounding the speaker, the stage, the lighting arrangements, background, etc. If there is noise in surrounding environment, it will again deviate the audience from listening. Next is correlate the subject matter with real life examples. Make comparisons to events from everyday life that most people are familiar with. Now we can study what is an interactive presentation. A presentation that uses hyperlinks to help users to navigate to different sections of presentation is termed as interactive presentation. An interactive presentation is always very engaging one. It's a two-way conversation between the presenter and the audience. Every presenter wants to keep their audience attention, whether that's in a lecture, a talk, a speech, or a product demo, or even in a webinar. Making interactive content is particularly important when preparing an online presentation or video presentation using Zoom, Google Meet, etc. Next is interview presentation. An interview presentation is a means to convince the interview board the abilities of the candidate for the job. A job interview presentation shall not be for more than 10 minutes. If a candidate is applying for the position, any position, just for example, marketing manager, he may be asked to make a presentation on a marketing plan. So, an interview presentation is done by starting with a basic opening, then a brief overview of what the presentation is about, next elaborating the main points, and at last close the presentation expressing thanks to the interview board. Last question is very important, that last content is very important, difference between speech and presentation. You will find it easy, but when you write, you will find it difficult. So, I will give you 3 points. First one is, speech is a formal talk that a person gives to an audience. A presentation is a meeting at which something, especially a new product or idea or a piece of work, is shown, that is very important, to a group of people. Second point, speeches are given to large crowds and therefore must appeal to their emotions. Presentations are given to smaller groups and therefore are more detail oriented. Third point, speeches can be made to entertain and not to inform. Presentations can do the both. It can inform and it can entertain. So this is the end of module 1. Study everything. No, you should not skip anything, because first module is always important, and essay question is sure from first module, and 5 marks question also. So study very well, students. Now we will start module 2 tomorrow. Thank you.